and an injured firefighter.
The fate of a bill to get more money to struggling Americans now rests with the Senate. I'm Skyler Henry in Washington with the latest as senators also decide whether to override President Trump's veto of a key defense bill.
And champagne in the glass or on the dessert tray? Howard has both answers from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
We open today with the latest on the investigation into a fire at a grocery store and an adjoining mosque, as well as the injuries of a firefighter who responded and was at the scene. Thank you for joining us on the KOAM News at Noon. I'm Michael Hayslip. Crews were called out to the fire around 7 a.m. yesterday. 3 people were inside when the fire started. One of those was injured and taken to a hospital, flown there by a helicopter. The city's fire chief says the fire is not considered suspicious in nature. Now, a firefighter from the Knoll Fire Department was also injured, also taken to the hospital. His injuries considered serious. He's a firefighter with a family lineage of saving those in need. His family says his life was saved because of his helmet. KOAM's Caitlin Shive has the story.
The Barrett family has firefighting in their blood. So when the fire at the Knoll African grocery store and mosque broke out Monday morning, all hands were on deck.
The boys are always, hustling out for fires or car wrecks or whatever. And so didn't think too awfully much about it, just listened to the radio. And then I caught some Facebook Live from in town and realized how big it was.
Mandy Barrett is the president of the Knoll Fire Department Auxiliary, while her husband Brandon is the fire chief. Her 22-year-old Blake is a lieutenant, and her 12-year-old Briar is a cadet.
It turned into listening to the radio and hearing Blake make entry into the fire, and Brandon, giving directions and whatnot. But then Brandon called me. I don't even know what time it was.
A call no mother wants to hear, as Chief Barrett let her know that Blake had been injured.
That was my first. I've just got to get there. I've got to see it with my own eyes that, Blake is talking and fine. And, he did not enjoy being on that stretcher, I'll tell you.
What had happened was one of the beams across the window or the door over here on the main building had fallen. It struck him right in the top of his helmet, mashed his helmet. Pretty much it saved his life.
Blake has a thoracic compression fracture in his 5th, 7th, and 8th vertebrae and will wear a brace for the next 6 to 8 weeks, an injury that could have been worse without the protection of his helmet.
Even car wrecks or, any type of medical response, you're going to see them in their gear. And I'm thankful, it could have ended very, very badly had he not been protected the way he was.
In Knoll, Caitlin Shive, KOAM News.
The Barretts and all of us, of course, hoping for a speedy recovery. Because get this, Blake is set to start the police academy January 17th. The parents of a 4-year-old Benton County, Missouri murder victim now face criminal charges. Mary and James Mass charged with felony child endangerment resulting in the young girl's death. Police say the girl died after being severely beaten and dunked in an icy pond by neighbors as what they're calling a religious type episode. Both neighbors are charged with second-degree murder. In a special meeting last night, Joplin City Council voting to approve 2 ordinances on an emergency basis for a proposed development off 32nd Street. Project is called 32nd Street Place and is asking for the tax incremental fund to help pay for improvements and the area deemed necessary for construction. 32nd Street Place, a multi-phase project, and when complete would include a Menards store, a movie theater, and 300 units of multifamily housing. Council also passed a number of ordinances related to the TIF district request, and those moved to a second and third reading. Tell you what, we're going to end up with a lot of rain here before we end 2020 and move into 2021. Still got it lingering up to the northwest as we see it kind of moving from Chanute past our highlighted counties. Now, as far as what we're looking at temperature-wise, we've been very fortunate this morning. Live look from the Freeman Health System camera in Joplin. all the way up to 46 degrees, even with those mostly cloudy skies, and that's what's been able to keep it as rain. Some additional temperatures around the area. We've even gotten close to a couple of 50s here. Yeah, we get throw up a 50 in Oswego, 52 in Miami. But now, as you move to the east and up to the north, you see those cooler temperatures, only 37 in Nevada, 43 right now in Carter, 35 in Monette. But here's the big thing as we work through the afternoon and evening hours. While the rain hangs up to the northwest right now, we are going to see it begin to drop down to the southeast tonight. It's going to last all the way into Wednesday, and we're talking about some heavy rain on that. Cold front catches up on the backside of it as well, so we're going to see some snow flurries tomorrow. Shouldn't have much accumulation because we're able to stay in the 50s today, but then an additional system headed our way on Thursday with more rain as it works out of Louisiana and Texas, and I'm going to break that down for you here when we come back in just a little bit. But first, topping Nation Watch. A day after the House votes to override the president's veto of a key defense spending bill, the Senate could try to do the same. In fact, the Senate meets later this afternoon and is under pressure to weigh in on increased stimulus checks after the House approved those extra funds. Skylar Henry has the latest. He's at the White House.
Congress could give President Trump the first veto override of his presidency.
The yeas are 322, the nays are 87.
Monday night, the House overwhelmingly overrode Mr. Trump's veto of the National Defense Authorization Act, which gives 3% pay raises for U.S. troops and authorizes more than $740 billion for the military.
This vote is about supporting our troops and defending America.
The president had objected, wanting lawmakers to include limits on social media companies, and he opposes the renaming of some military bases that honor Confederate leaders.
The bill is passed.
The House also approved the $2,000 stimulus checks that President Trump demanded, putting pressure on Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell to take up the issue.
Republicans have a choice. Vote for this legislation or vote to deny the American people the bigger paychecks they need.
Meanwhile, President-elect Joe Biden is accusing the Trump administration of obstructing the transition by intentionally withholding critical information.
We have encountered roadblocks from the political leadership at the Department of Defense and the Office of Management and Budget. It's nothing short, in my view, of irresponsibility.
The Defense Department says its efforts already surpassed those of recent administrations. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
The Defense Department adds that it continues to schedule additional meetings for the remainder of the Biden transition. That is a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM News at Noon, breaking down the numbers of the pandemic that arrived in 2019, even though we're closing down 2020. And we plunge through what's going to be a wet end of the year as well. We'll be right back after this. Jasper County Health Department has reported its 100th COVID-19 death. Health Department says it's recorded 2 new COVID-19 deaths, the patients both men, one in his 70s, the other in his 80s. In Crawford County, Kansas, Health Department reporting 3 more COVID deaths. That means that number's now risen to 29. The Crawford County Health Department did not release any information about the patients who died. The CDC says more than 11 million doses of the coronavirus vaccine have been shipped in the United States, but only about 2 million people have been vaccinated so far, and that's far fewer than what the Trump administration intended by the end of the year. California happens to be one of those states where the virus is out of control, and later today, strict lockdown orders are expected to be extended in that state. And that's where we find Carter Evans. He's in Pasadena.
California's battered hospitals are bracing for another coronavirus surge after the holidays. In hard-hit Los Angeles County, ICUs are completely full, and about 600 people test positive every hour.
I think we're now in a viral tsunami.
Dr. Robert Kim Farley is a UCLA epidemiologist.
The people who we're seeing in the hospital now, is that still the Thanksgiving surge?
Yes, that's the reality of it. I think that we're in for still a big viral wildfire. We have this light at the end of the tunnel, the vaccine that's coming. But what's happening is that this tunnel is looking uglier and uglier every day.
And demand for that vaccine is evident across the country. Hundreds of seniors lined up for hours to get vaccinated at a Florida community center on Monday. And in New York, the owner of a network of urgent care clinics was ordered to return 2,300 doses of the Moderna vaccine after allegations that it fraudulently gave the vaccine to people who weren't supposed to get it. In a statement, the Park Care Clinic said it's cooperating with authorities and has provided information about its compliance with the Department of Health procedures.
If you violate the law on these vaccinations, we will find out and you will be prosecuted.
48 states are now sending the first doses of the vaccine to some long-term care facilities, including the Life Care Center of Kirkland, the first nursing home in the country to experience a COVID outbreak in late February of this year. Greg and Laura Roberts are nurses at River Valley Care Center in Northern California. They say they were hesitant to take the vaccine until the virus killed their 44-year-old daughter, Charity.
She had the respiratory arrest, then she had a heart attack, her kidneys shut down, and her liver failed, all at the same time. And I'll be honest, I was on the fence about the vaccines. I'll be first in line. Everybody can stand and watch.
Now, to give you a sense of how dire the situation is here at Huntington Hospital, they recently released a document preparing patients for the possibility that they may have to ration care if the situation continues to deteriorate. Now, if that happens, a panel would decide who gets treatment and who doesn't. Carter Evans, CBS News, Pasadena, California.
As a reminder, for those of you in Pittsburgh, Kansas, you can also go to the city's official Facebook page for COVID-19 snapshots. Those are updated 3 times a week. Still to come on the KOAM News at Noon, Mr. Cooper.
Need just the right something to help you ring in the new year? We've got it, and it's as sweet as it is easy.
And we return with a complete end of the year forecast right after this. Feels almost a tad bit reminiscent of a morning show as we're approaching 17 past the hour. Feel like I want to say weather on the 7s. Here we are as we stand on this Tuesday with the light rain still coming down. I tell you what, northwest portion of the 4 states has just been pounded so far. As we go back in time, they had everything from the freezing rain. We had the snow that came in through our northern counties. We even had 3 to 5 inches. That was far northern Kansas up by the Nebraska border right there. And then everybody else just pretty much had rain. So our travel concerns really weren't too bad. But I do want to point out the winter weather advisory has been extended by 2 hours all the way to 1 p.m. for our counties in purple. Now, high wind advisory. We'll get to that one here in just a second. But to give you an idea of the mess that the Midwest is in right now, a large storm system that's tracking all the way from Texas up to the Canadian border. We're going to concentrate on the rain that's really coming out of Oklahoma because ours is going to stall out over us right here. And then we're going to watch that jet stream fall down to the southeast. Now, we talked about that wind advisory. Look at Springfield picking up by 37. Joplin picked up a 43-mile-an-hour gust earlier. But the positive thing is it's not coming in from the north. It's taking an east, southeasterly track. That's what's keeping us above the freezing point. And that's our factor as we were able to make it through the morning pretty much unscathed. We're looking at temperatures as warm as 53 in Oswego and as cool as 37 in Nevada. So we're kind of all over the board temperature-wise. Key factor is the cold front is really yet to come. That's going to be here tomorrow. So as our rain stalls out and then drops down to the southeast, watch on the top part of it here. See the temperatures, 34, 35, still sitting 50 in Joplin though. So you know it's tracking it right back down. And so it's going to be a soaker. We'll talk about possible flooding here on Wednesday morning as well. And then light band of rain because the cold front catches up to our precipitation that dives into central Arkansas right there. So I need everybody to be very wary tomorrow. Let's not let our guard down. I mean, everything today seemed A-okay, but we're not done as of yet because we stay below the frozen mark here overnights especially. And so any of that residual precipitation still on the road could cause some slick spots. All right, we'd like to take this time to honor today's 4-state hero. Franklin Bond served in the United States Army from 1953 to 1955. He was stationed in Germany. We salute you, Corporal Franklin Bond, today's 4-state hero. But now we get ready to turn 2020 into 2021. Now, I mean, normally hoist up a glass, have a toast. Well, little did I know, you can actually put it on as a dessert tray as two. And that's what Howard's going to show us from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Where did the year go? It's hard to believe that New Year's Eve is right around the corner. Now, we know that many of you will be staying home instead of going out to celebrate. Maybe you're having a few friends over and counting down the new year with a celebration of your own. Whether you go big or do something more laid back, we've got a fun and festive dessert dip that'll help you ring in the new year. To whip this up, we combine a cup of dry white cake mix, straight out of the box, with some canned vanilla frosting and a good amount of pink champagne. We beat this together until it's light and fluffy. You see, the combo of the frosting and the cake mix is what gives our dip a fancy bakery taste. And the champagne, well, what's New Year's without a little bubbly? Now we put this in a bowl and top it with some golden white decorating sugar to add a little shimmer. Surround it with some fresh berries and ladyfingers for dipping, and you're all set. It may sound simple, and it is, but let me tell you, it'll be the talk of the dessert table. To get the recipe for our champagne dessert dip, simply check out our website. I'm Howard with Kelly in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a party-perfect way for you to say, ooh, it's so good. Happy New Year.
And a very happy New Year to you as well, Howard. And don't forget to pass along our best to Miss Kelly. We love it when she shows up in the kitchen there. Of course, you can find this recipe, got a whole lot more other good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. And all you have to do is go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. We'll be back and wrap up this edition of the KOAM News at Noon for you. And while we do get a little break from the rain on this overcast day, remember, we're far from over. This evening, it reemerges. That band drops down to the southeast. We're, number one, going to be talking about limited flooding potential into Wednesday morning. Number two, a little snow on the back side of it, and what's going to be a chilly start to the new year, looking at anywhere from 2 to 3 inches of accumulation by Friday. Over to Dow with a look at what's coming up tonight at 5.
Yeah, at 5, the Crawford County Health Department is administering coronavirus vaccines, but some of the doses they have aren't yet being put to use. We're going to explain why. Plus, November's elected officials are sworn into office in Jasper County, and it's the return of the 737, the first official U.S. flight on a 737 MAX jet in 2 years. The plane was grounded in March of 2019. We're going to have those stories, a lot more. It's coming up on KOAM News at 5.
Looking forward to it. Thank you all for joining us here on the KOAM News at Noon. We'll see you right back here at 5 o'clock.